Welcome back to Afternoon Live. Our next guest went from being an active college student to dealing with a crippling pain and exhaustion. She tells her story of living 27 years with chronic illness in her new book, Fibromyalgia, A Journey of Self-Discovery. We welcome Jenny Dunton. Thanks for being with us, Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So take me back to the beginning of your diagnosis and journey. You were 24 years old, super active and adventurous, and you had kind of a mysterious pain come about?
I did, and I still, 27 years later, still have fibromyalgia, but just felt that I needed to finally tell my story because I was seeing so many other people having similar questions. But yes, I was 24 when I was initially diagnosed.
And tell me about that moment when you had something that you just hadn't experienced before as a super active young person.
Right. I was into everything outdoorsy. Whitewater rafting, rock climbing, mountain biking. I was just so active, and I was a kayak tour guide at that time in my life. And I just started having unbelievable amounts of pain and fatigue spread throughout my body. And at first I just thought, well, it's overexertion, makes sense. And I decided to go to the doctor, and shortly after was diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Okay, and there are some symptoms that a lot of people experience, but it's still kind of a complex disease that we don't know much about. We've got a few of the symptoms up on our screen here. Do these kind of track with what you've experienced?
Absolutely. It's a pain that is literally from head to toe. And it often does have major bouts of fatigue. You feel overwhelmingly exhausted and tired, sometimes to the point where it's difficult to motivate yourself to just get out of bed, make yourself breakfast, or take a shower. Trouble sleeping, they're finding it has more and more to do with fibromyalgia. Many patients have sleep apnea, and research studies are now starting to show that many patients who have fibromyalgia are actually not getting into REM sleep and staying there long enough. So it's turning out that rather than this being more of a musculoskeletal pain condition, which is what it was thought for many, many years, it is more a neurological dysfunction that's happening in our brain having to do with fight or flight symptoms.
In your book, you describe a lot of the challenges that you've faced in learning more about fibromyalgia over the years, but there's also hope moving forward of progress that's been made and being heard as a patient, and then loved ones understanding it better as well.
Absolutely. I think the biggest reason I felt compelled to finally sit down and put my experiences on paper was for other patients newly being diagnosed. I was seeing on support groups on social media where people were asking the same questions. Are other people having problems with their partner not understanding? Are others having issues with friends not understanding or thinking that we're lazy? It were these questions that were just soul crushing to me. And I felt like, well, if I can sit down, maybe write my story on paper, put the pieces of the puzzle together, maybe it'll help all of us have our voice heard a little more. I think most of us are have had similar experiences, whether it's with trauma or illness, or if it's genetic predisposition. So I think a lot of us are going through the same things, and it often just takes talking about that to realize that we're not alone in this, and there's a lot of hope on the horizon.
So what's the response been since you've been able to release the book and talk more about it? Have you been able to connect with other people? I'm sure a lot of people have felt really heard and seen in your words.
It's actually pretty new. The book was just released at the end of September, so it's pretty new out on the market. What I'm finding interesting enough is its international interest is way more prevalent than here in the United States. You are actually my very first show to come on live. It's been Canada, had lots of interest from London and even Australia. But United States, I don't know. I think we need to work more on our full patient-centered approach.
Okay, well, that's great to hear that other places around the world are hearing your voice, and we're going to make sure people hear from you too here in the U.S. as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today.
Thank you.
And we'll have more information about the book on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.